A World War II witch trial? Yes. What if I told you if the last person convicted under the British witchcraft law wasn't burned at stake in the medieval village, but arrested by the police during World War II for holding a séance? No pitchforks, no bonfire, just whispers in the dark, a war-torn nation and a ghost who apparently knew classified military secrets. This is the story of Helen Duncan, the last person jailed under the Witchcraft Act of 1735. A woman accused not of hexes, curses or riding broomsticks, but of conjuring the spirits of the dead. And maybe something even more dangerous, the truth. In 1926, she developed from clairvoyant to physical medium by offering seances in which she claimed to be able to permit the spirits of deceased people to materialize by emitting ectoplasm from their mouth. In 1928, photographer Harvey Metcalfe attended a series of seances at Duncan's home. During a seance, he took various photographs of Duncan and their alleged materialization of spirits, including her spirit's guide Peggy. His photographs revealed that the spirits were fraudulently produced. Duncan's equipment included a doll made from a painted papier-mâché mask draped in an old sheet. In 1931, the London Spiritualist Alliance examined Duncan's methods. An early examination of pieces of Duncan's ectoplasm revealed that it was made of cheesecloths, paper mixed with the white of eggs, and lavatory paper stuck together. One of Duncan's tricks was to swallow and regurgitate some of her ectoplasm so that she was persuaded to swallow a tablet of methylene blue before one of the seances by the LSA committed to rule out any chance of this trick being performed. And because of this, of course, no ectoplasm appear. But to understand how a Scottish medium became a national security threat, we need to rewind, like way back, to the original witches. Let's talk witches. Before there were green-skinned Halloween icons, long before Christianity reached the British Isles, there were cunning folk, wise women and herbalists. People who knew how to heal or how to hex. Community heroes or public enemies, depending on whether your cow lived or died. The term witch is ancient. The laws of Alfred in the 9th century mentioned the word witchcraft. These were not devil worshippers yet, just people who knew a little too much. But then came the Black Death, and society needed someone to blame. The widow with a cat, the woman who didn't marry, the herbalist with too many jars. In the 15th centuries, the Malleus Maleficarum, also known as the Hammer of Witches, hit Europe like a plague of its own. It was basically a sort of how-to guide for spotting, torturing, killing alleged witches, a must-have book basically. And in Britain, things were just getting started. But let's fast forward to seances as submarines. Picture this, it's 1941, wartime Britain. The smell of wax, peppermint oil and blackout curtains. In Portsmouth, Helen Duncan sits in a darkened room conducting a seance. She reaches out to the other side and calls forth the ghost of the sailor. His name? Sid. Your average ghost next door. Sid announces that the HMS Barnham, a massive Royal Navy battleship, had been sunk. And that was a huge deal. Why? Because at that moment no one was supposed to know except the close relatives of the victims. The HMS Barnham had been sunk on November the 25th, 1941 by a German U-boat. Unfortunately, over 800 men died. But the British government had kept it quiet for morale and strategic reasons. So when Helen casually drops this intel during the seance, the MI5 perk up like, wait a second, who's this lady chatting with? The Navy then started watching her closely, so a couple of years later, two lieutenants were among their audience at the seance in January 1944. One of these was Lieutenant Worf, who was not impressed as a white-clothed figure had appeared behind the curtains claiming to be his aunt. But yeah, no, this is aunt. In the same sitting, another figure appeared claiming to be his sister, but Worf replied that his sister was alive and well, bad luck. Worf was disgusted by this show and reported it to the police. This was followed up a few days later when undercover policemen arrested her at another seance as a white shrouded manifestation appeared. This proved to be Duncan herself with a white cloth which she attempted to conceal. When discovered in 1944, military tensions were very high, but in that occasion Helen wasn't arrested for treason or espionage. She was arrested for witchcraft. Yes, witchcraft. Let's go back for a moment to the really dark days, the 1500s and the 1600s, when witch trials were trending. And by trending I mean thousands of women were burnt, drowned or hanged. In Scotland over 3,800 people were tried. The North Berwick trials of 1590 had people confessing to the summoning storms to kill King James VI. One poor guy, a school teacher named John Fian, admitted to even flying on a demon horse. James VI was obsessed. He even wrote a book called Daemonologie, which sounds like a really weird self-help guide. Meanwhile in England we had the Pendle witches in 1612. 12 people, mostly women, were accused of murder by sorcery. The main witness, a 9-year-old girl. But in the 1700s the Enlightenment was like, hey, maybe these aren't witches, maybe they are just people. So in 1735 Parliament passed a new Witchcraft Act, not to punish witches but to punish people pretending to be witches. It was more like fraud prevention than demon hunting. Problem is the law stayed on the books and 2 centuries later it would catch Helen Duncan in its web. Yes, in 1944 Helen is not arrested for treason of espionage but for witchcraft. Helen is on a trial for conjuring spirits, not as a Halloween act, but under the Witchcraft Act of 1735. Even Winston Churchill caught wind of it. He reportedly called the whole thing obsolete tomfoolery, which I have to say is one of the most British insults ever. But beneath the absurdity, there was a deeper fear. The government didn't want psychics, whether they were real or fake, dropping classified secrets, even by accident. Some think Helen had insider info, others think she was just good at cold reading and probably very lucky as well. Or maybe see the ghost really was chatty. In the end, Helen was found guilty and sentenced to 9 months in Holloway Prison. When she got out, she never quite recovered. She died in 1956, just a year before the Witchcraft Act was finally repealed. My guess is that creating all this ectoplasm had taken a toll on her. So, who was Helen Duncan? A. Was she a fraud with a flair for the theatrical? B. A spiritualist born a century too late? Or C. Was she the last real witch, speaking truths the living just weren't ready to hear? And what does it say about us, that during the most technologically advanced war in history, a war with tanks, radars and code-breaking machines, we still held a witch trial? Sure, we may have stopped burning witches, but that doesn't mean the fire's out. All over the world today, people, mostly women, are being accused of witchcraft, and are still being beaten, imprisoned, or even killed. For instance, in Tanzania, elderly women with smoke-reddened eyes are branded witches. In Nigeria, children are cast out as possessed. In Papua New Guinea, if someone dies, a woman may be tortured for sorcery. In Saudi Arabia, witchcraft can still carry a death sentence. And in parts of India and Nepal, accusations are used to grab land or silence outspoken women. So maybe the real question isn't whether witches exist, maybe it's this: why do we still need them too? Let me know in the comments, and have you ever met a witch? Or maybe, are you a witch? Thanks for witching.